Hi everyone, I wanted to talk with you today about a concept called self-talk. Self-talk is pretty much what it sounds like. It's the way you talk to yourself, normally inside your head. It's the thoughts that you have after you do something really great. It's the thoughts that you have after you're really disappointed. It's the monologue you have playing in your head at night before you fall asleep. That's all self-talk. And it's important that we become aware of and really conscious of the messages, that self-talk that we have. And it's important to know that we can actually change our self-talk. Self-talk can be good, it can be bad, but it definitely can be controlled. So the way I like to think about self-talk is a radio playing it's got different stations, we can control the volume, and oftentimes it's just kind of playing in the background. We're not paying a ton of attention to it. Every once in a while there's something that sort of pops out and grabs our attention, but then we kind of keep going and tune it out again. So the first step is really to tune in to our radio, to tune into that self-talk and become more aware of it, really consciously aware of it. Sometimes that means turning the volume up a little bit. Sometimes that means simply stopping what we're doing and turning down the volume of other things in our life so that we can hear that radio. What tends to happen when you do that, what I hear a lot from clients and what I know to be true for myself, is that a lot of the messages that really pop out, the ones that I tune into, tend to be negative messages. They're insert your, I'm too, and then insert your word, right? So I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too dumb, I'm too nerdy, I'm not coordinated enough. Whatever it is that is, the thing that you're insecure about, the thing that makes you feel vulnerable or can kind of cut you to your knees the fastest, that's kind of what we tune into. That's the thing that catches our attention when we're listening to our self-talk. So, like I said, the good news is that we can change that. The first step, like I said, is to become aware of those messages, right? We're not just tuning in when those things pop out. We're paying attention to it all the time. The second step, I like to approach two different ways. The first is to think about the way that we talk to ourselves and compare that to how we talk to someone that we love. So picture someone that you love or that you just generally like, and think about how you would talk with them after some kind of event. So, they don't do well on an exam. Do you say to them, you are so stupid, you're gonna fail, you're gonna need to drop out of college, like you are not worthy of being here? Probably, hopefully not. But is that the way that you talk to yourself? Is that what's going on in your head? Same thing when something good happens. Do you just immediately say to them, don't get your hopes up. This is probably a fluke. You didn't even really study that hard. So that test must have just been really easy. Well, hopefully you don't talk to your loved ones that way, but it may be the way that you're talking to yourself. So just tuning into thinking about how you would talk to someone you love and trying to extend that same language to yourself. So giving yourself credit when you do something well, not being too hard on yourself when you do something wrong. That doesn't mean you're letting go of accountability, right? Look, buddy, it sucks that you didn't do well on that exam. I know that's a bummer, and we can talk about why that happened, but we're gonna get through this, and there's gonna be more exams where you can prove that you can do better, right? The other way that I like to think about it is to think about where those messages came from. So for a lot of us, we heard lots of messages from parents, teachers, friends, siblings, grandparents, you name it. And some of those messages stuck. And what we see is that a lot of times, no matter how many times someone says, I love you, you're doing great, the time that they say something really negative, that tends to stick. And if you have been around, been in a relationship or have had an experience where someone is generally negative, then this is going to be even more the case. So, for example, I talked with a student one time, and the student was really struggling with math. This was when I was an academic advisor, And he just was really down about math. And I was looking at his math scores, and they were higher than most of the students who walked into my office. And I was just confused. I was not a counselor. I said that. I'm confused. Your test scores indicate that you are decent in math. Why do you think you suck so bad? And it very quickly led to, he had an experience with a math teacher who humiliated him in front of the class. And that teacher said, and basically, you suck at math. Not in those short of terms, but that's the message he received. That's the message that was playing in his head. And so we had a quick conversation about, okay, so your math teacher, I think it was his junior year math teacher, your junior year math teacher, you're handing him the microphone in your head. He's saying something and you're handing him the microphone and letting him amp up that volume. And is that a choice that you want to continue to make? And if not, who are we going to hand the microphone to? You can take the microphone back yourself. You can hand the microphone to your freshman year math teacher or to your coach. It doesn't really matter necessarily, except you've got to find somebody, and it may need to be yourself, who believes in you and who has a better message for you than that one teacher who was probably kind of a jerk. So that's the good news here. In both situations, once you are aware of the messages that are going on, the messages that you're hearing, once you really tune into that radio, you can turn the volume down. You can change the station. You can create your own news station. So it's up to you. I hope this is somewhat helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again.